So I made a mistake in my last video. It turns out you guys really like the M13. You'll see all these comments from from people on the last video that I made. If you haven't seen my last video, it was a long range meta video, and it still has great information in it. But I did make a small mistake. It turns out the M13 damage profile on True Game Data was a little bit off. It's like only 2 damage points off, but that was enough to make it shift from not really being a meta option and being worse than the M4 to being a meta option and being better than the M4. So we're gonna go over that today, as well as one other weapon that I think should have been mentioned in my previous video. Hope you guys enjoyed that thumbnail. My my thumbnail artist Krieger. I asked him if he could just make me a beautiful thumbnail, and he sent me that like 5 minutes later, and I was like, I'm literally just gonna use that and see what happens. But anyway, we're gonna get into it, and I'll show you why I think the M13 is meta, and I'm gonna show you MetaGen as well, and we'll compare that to the other weapon that I mentioned earlier in this clip. So let's jump into it and we'll talk about all that. All right, so MetaGen still not live, still coming soon. I know I've been saying that for like 2.5 months at this point. When they switched to plus 50 HP on your base health in this last patch, it kind of screwed up a lot of my TTK weighting, damage per mag weighting, things like that. So I've had to tweak that. I've got it calculating well again. So I'm going to run here just a standard meta calculations run. I'm not going to do any stat importance calculations. We're going to do long range automatic, quads, no restrictions on laser visibility, and I'm not going to force the weapon to be suppressed. So we'll run that. I'm not going to give it a title or anything. Find my meta. Like I've said in the past, this takes about 2 to 3 minutes to run. It is a hugely calculation intensive task, which is why accounts are going to be limited to how many times they can run this basically per month. Um, all that stuff will be posted when we actually go live with this, but you can see it'll pop up here and show you 5% complete, 1 of 19 weapons calculated. And yeah, it takes 2 or 3 minutes, so I'm gonna let this finish and then keep going. All right, so I've come back. It is finished now. Took about 2 to 3 minutes, and that's generally how long it'll take for long range. Close range calculations only take 10 seconds or so, so those ones are really quick. But long range is a more calculation intensive process. So you can see here, I don't know if you guys can see this, might be a little zoomed out, but we've made it look prettier. First of all, we've got the ranked colors. So iridescent is number 1, crimson 2, diamond, plat, gold, silver, bronze, and then all the ones down here are bronze. So this is how it thinks the weapons are after all the data has been updated. I fixed the M13 data, and boom, that shot it right to the top of what these are. So I'll zoom in a little bit so you guys can see this better. Um, yeah, we got M13 at the top, HCR 56 in second, Lockman 556 in third, taq-v in fourth. Then the Socken and the RAPP H in gold and silver position. M4 is the top bronze. So anything, literally, the meta is very, very wide open. Anything that scores over, I would say, like 9.5 is good enough to use. Like, these are really all great weapons. So you need to find one that the recoil feels the most controllable to you as an individual, the one you can hit the most shots with, and the one that feels like it's downing people the fastest. So there's certain weapons in this list that are going to have fast time to kill. taq-v is one that has really fast time to kill. RAPP H has a really fast time to kill. Sokken's kind of a middle time to kill, a little bit faster than the low recoil ARs, but it is an LMG, so it's very heavy, slow to use. HCR is also kind of that middle time to kill. So it looks at every single stat in the game, and it tries to weight them and balance them appropriately, and that's how it comes out with these MetaGen values. And then all the attachments for the top 20 builds are on the right. I do still have some tweaking to do to this. I would like to see more horizontal recoil attachments showing up, so I need to do a little bit more work on the recoil on here, and then finish trios, duos, and solos. Those were all done before this update, but because they added 50 HP, like I said, it screwed up all my damage per mag and my time to kill weighting and scaling. So I need to fix that. And then I have to do close range as well still, but I was able to get this working very quickly, so hopefully I can do that in just a few days. I can get all that working again, and then maybe we can actually push this live to you guys. Again, all of this is customizable. You can weight. I'll show you the weighting here real quick. So let me adjust individual stat importance on the right. These are all the stats that you can weight differently from less important to more important. So if you slide it to the left, the calculation will think that that stat is not as important to the overall score the weapon gets. So ADS movement, ADS time, aim sway, bullet velocity, damage per mag, damage per second, high fire rate, hip fire, movement speed, vertical recoil, horizontal recoil, visual recoil, reload time, sprint speed, tac sprint speed, sprint to fire, tac sprint to fire, and time to kill. Those are all the options that you can weight. Sliding it to the left, actually, so I mentioned this before when I talked about this, but initially it was like you could change how the scaling was by about 30%. Now I'm gonna let you do like way more than that. So going all the way to the left literally will make sprint to fire not even a factor in the calculation. And going all the way to the right, I haven't figured out what to do for that yet, but it's probably gonna be like 5 times the importance that I give by default. So that'll give you basically complete control over how this works. You'll be able to save your favorite weightings, so you can import your weightings from your profile for whatever type of run you're doing, whether it's close range, long range, sniper support, solos, duos, trios, quads. You'll be able to import those weightings that you've used in the past that gave you good results, and then you can just run it with those, and it'll spit out your best meta for how you play specifically. So we've got this add to comparison button. So let's compare the M13 to a couple of the good options. So we'll compare it to the HCR, the Lockman 556, and then I'll throw on the RAPP as well. The RAPP is the other gun I was mentioning that I want to talk about. Very good. It has some things that hold it back, but it is a great option, and that's how it made it into the silver position here. Well, I've got those added to the comparison. Now we just go over to the comparison tool. We can see them here. These are the top builds for each one of those from MetaGen, automatically taken to the comparison tool. So if we go look at the time to kill, that's the big thing I wanted to look at here. So combination, 300 health, time to kill. You can see right off the bat the green. Green is the RAPP. Let me zoom in so you guys can see this a little better. All right, so we've got the green is the RAPP. You can see right off the bat it is pretty much faster than everything except the HCR out at longer ranges. The HCR is the orange, and it kind of matches that out past 55 meters. Um, Basically, inside 55 meters, it's going to be about 50 milliseconds faster than the HCR everywhere, and it has a little bit more damage range as well. So it's going to kill really fast in the mid-range fights. The recoil is also pretty good. We'll go look at that in a second. But you can also see, looking at the M13 in red and the Lockman 556, those are both kind of low recoil options. I would say the Lockman's lower recoil, but I think the M13 now makes up for it with the better time to kill. So you can see out at the end here, you get about 70 milliseconds better time to kill with the M13 than you do with the Lockman 556. So as well as about a 70 millisecond better time to kill in that first damage range. So in those situations where you have that gun out and you need to use it, it will kill a little bit faster than the Lockman 556 if you hit the same number of shots. Then the RAPP also is going to be really good in those mid-range engagements. I'm moving into the recommended build for the M13, so it is basically the same build that MetaGen spit out. I do want to talk about the muzzles though. So like I said, the MetaGen tool right now, in my opinion, is placing a little bit too much importance on vertical recoil. There's some weapons that really do need like the X10 ported for maximum vertical recoil reduction. One of those guns would be the taq-v, so it's getting that correct. But for some of these guns that have lower recoil, like the M13, I personally think that the horizontal recoil attachments are better. They really help keep it tighter to that expected recoil line, and just compress it horizontally, which I think makes you hit more shots. So like I said, these are all personal preference. All these muzzles are fantastic. They all have about the same recoil reduction. It's just split up between vertical and horizontal. So you have about 30% recoil reduction to 35% recoil reduction between all of these, but it's just split up in different percentages towards vertical or horizontal. So you need to try these yourself and see which one you like and which one feels the best to you in terms of how you can control the recoil. The firing range is great for that. Just throw each one on and shoot a few mags and then try a different one. If the different one feels better, keep using that one and then try a different one, and just keep swapping until you have the one that feels the best. So this is the standard build that I go with. I like the horizontal recoil on this thing. Feels like it makes it really accurate to me. Tuning for the Komodo Heavy, plus 0.44 and then plus 0.14. FTAC Ripper, standard again, helps with that. Seems like it really helps with visual bounce and just recoil stabilization in general. It also helps with aiming stability, which is really important, as well as basically like aim walking steadiness. So as you're strafing, how much you'll like move around, things like that. It helps with that as well. So it's a great attachment. Tuning for the Ripper, plus 0.52 and then plus 0.3. High velocity ammunition, as always, is just a crazy valuable attachment. Minus 0.32 and then plus 4.06. And then for the optic, personal preference, again, now that we don't really have headshot damage in the first range, I think flinch resistance is what you want to go with all the time. And then close for the tuning, that's personal preference. Close or far. Close has more visual recoil, but a better sight picture. Far has less visual recoil. So taking this into the firing range here, at least on mouse and key, I like the horizontal attachments. So with this setup, I can pretty much just beam these targets no problem with this thing. It has very little recoil, and like I showed, it has better time to kill than the Lockman 556 out at range. and in the first damage range. So I think it is a very meta option, as MetaGen spit out, and as so many of you guys told me. It was just that I had the wrong damage values before. So it was funny because it was like one of the first times I've taken a pretty strong stand. I was like, why do you guys think the M13 is so good? The M4 is better, and the Lockman 556 is better than the M4. So why would the M13 be good? Well, I was wrong. I had the wrong damage values. So as soon as I changed that, it looked like a much, much better gun. It does the same damage per bullet, but just shoots faster than the M4 at range now. So it has better time to kill than the M4. I feel like there's two good builds for ARs in this game. It's either with high velocity, how I've built this with the muzzle and the ripper, or you can take high velocity off, do the barrel. It helps with bullet velocity and recoil, and then put a suppressor on there. Echoless 80 is the one that I tend to prefer. It just has the best stat balance. You know, it has a big boost in range and bullet velocity with the lowest penalty to ADS. But this is going to have worse recoil, harder to control recoil than the one I just showed, as well as worse ADS time, but you get the benefit of being suppressed and having much longer damage range. So those two things are for you to decide which one you want. It's still going to be pretty accurate with this build, but probably not quite as accurate as the one I showed initially. But yeah, you get that really long damage range. So your damage range will push out there and you'll be able to, get that first range time to kill out to, 15 extra meters. It's still pretty accurate. Tuning for those two attachments, we've got the Echoless 80 at plus 0.81 and then plus 0.81 again on the horizontal. For the barrel, we've got plus 0.4 and plus 0.31. So this is a really nice build as well. Dramatically longer damage range, probably 15 or so meters extra in the first range, and then obviously each damage range after that has longer drop off as well. Onto the RAPP H, like I said, this is a much faster time to kill. So if we got the M13 on this graph and the RAPP H, you can see that even though the M13 has a faster time to kill than like the Lockman 556, the RAPP H is about 105 milliseconds faster or more everywhere time to kill, which is significant. I mean, that's a dramatic difference in time to kill. So swap over to my game screen here. So I think this is probably the best way to build it. We've got the Tempest GH50. It has a lot of vertical recoil. The FTAC Ripper, again, for the same reasons as always. High velocity, and then the Olay laser. This is because this comes with a 75 round mag by default. We don't need to use a magazine slot, so tend to use the laser instead. If you wanted more recoil, you could go with the Lockman TCG10, but that's going to make your aiming stability a lot worse as well. This is going to have amazing aiming stability, having both the laser and the ripper. Barrels wise, didn't really seem like there was much of a barrel that was worth using in this case. None of them really help recoil, so not really worth using the barrel in this case. If you want less recoil, I would just go with the TCG10 stock. Let's take this into the firing range. So I'll show you the M13 first. This is the long damage range, so the recoil with that looks pretty good. And then let's try the RAPP H in comparison. So ADS time it's not good, but it's not terrible. This is, I would say, a little bit harder to control than the M13, but not like wildly. So I'm going to try to just put all my shots in the corner over there. And I'm able to do that pretty well with these attachments for a pretty sustained amount of time too. The one big downside of this gun is the reload time. So it shoots pretty fast. It only has 75 bullets. And with the new health pool, that makes it pretty tough to use. So that's why it's not ranked higher in MetaGen. It's tough to use because the reload time is so long and there's so much health. If you're playing, duos or solos, it's probably a really good option. But in trios or quads, it's going to be very tough to use effectively without, just running out of ammo and having to reload for 8 seconds while your teammates are trying to fight. It's tough. It's tough to do that. So that's why it doesn't rank higher, but it is a very good option. Tunings here real quick for the Tempest GH50. We have all the way to recoil stabilization and all the way to recoil control. For the Ripper, we have plus 0.49 on the vertical, plus 0.28 on the horizontal. For high velocity, minus 0.5 on the vertical, plus 6.1 on the horizontal. And then for the laser, this one seemed to hurt if you move towards aim locking steadiness more than it ever helped. So it just kind of made your sprint to fire worse and didn't really make aim locking steadiness any better. So we just left that in the center. And then the horizontal went all the way to the right for aiming idle stability. Optic, as always, is personal preference. I like flinch resistance, so I would look for the most flinch resistance. And then close or far is personal preference. This kind of has decent visual recoil, so I'd probably go with far just to reduce that. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I mean, it's accurate. It's a good gun. It's just like I said, the reload time really holds it back. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, if you like the content, you like the website, don't forget to drop a subscription, like the video, comment on the video, as well as if you want to support even more. The best way to support is a premium subscription on TrueGameData.com, the website that I have built. We have MetaGen coming soon, which I think is going to be great for the community. Basically, we have to finish adjusting for the 50 HP. Probably not going to release with sniper support. It'll probably just be close range and long range to start with, just so we can get it out sooner. And then also, we have to build out the systems for restricting the number of runs that people get, just because I don't want to end up with a $20,000 bill on my doorstep from AWS. So I had to limit the number of runs you guys get until I understand the costs associated with it. And those numbers will probably be increased at some point, but just want to make sure that we're not going to have a crazy bill show up that I can't pay right now. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. M13 is great. RAPP is pretty good. I would say great if it had a better reload time. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one.